Salt and Light Radio, AM 1140 KGEM Boise, FM 102.3 K272 FS Boise, AM 1270 KTFI Twin Falls, and FM 101.7 K269HA Twin Falls.
Start your day the Catholic way. Salt and Light Radio now presents Morning Light. Local information and interviews, along with news, traffic, weather, and sports from all across Idaho. So grab your favorite coffee mug and enjoy the next hour as we talk with people you know and trust. And now, the hosts of Morning Light, Brian Howell and Hope Ryan.
Good morning. Thanks for joining us as we broadcast live from the St. Gabriel studio in Idaho's capital city. Welcome to a Faithful Friday edition of the show. Who do we have coming up on this September 2nd?
Well, we need to let Cheryl and Dan know.
Oh, that's
We're
true.
We're streaming on YouTube today, not on Facebook.
Not on Facebook, yeah. So there you go. Now you know. So everybody go over to the Salt and Light Radio Boise YouTube page.
Excellent.
Pat
Not
King.
Morning Lights page, but Salt and Light Radio.
Salt and Light Radio Boise.
So that's where you will find us.
And then you can see all the action because there's so much going on.
You can see how pointy my nose is. That is true. So we will get to chat with our friends from the Society of St. Vincent de Paul, Rebecca M. Carroll. She is the coaching educator. And finally, another edition of Priscilla's Porch with Busy Shore.
Late add to the roster that Maureen O'Toole will be here along with Rebecca to talk about all the great things happening in her world. I love
when they're together.
Yes.
That's excellent.
Pray for our priest, please. Today, specifically, Father Rob Cook. He is now up in Sandpoint at St. Joseph's Parish. And this week we've been praying for Brother Sergio Armando Rodriguez. He is part of the Missionary Servants of the Word. Today, the feast of Blessed John Francis Berthet and companions. These were men who lived during the French Revolution and were killed for not denying their faith. We'll hear all about their brave story a little later on in the hour. But right now, it's day 2 of our novena for the Idaho Women's Conference, Catholic Women's Conference.
Absolutely. In the name of the Father, and the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Amen. Dearest Saint Therese of Lisieux, you said that you would spend your time in heaven doing good on earth. Your trust in God is complete. Pray that he may increase my trust in his goodness and mercy as we ask for the complete protection and blessing over the speakers, participants, and technology of the Idaho Catholic Women's Conference. And pray for me that I, like you, may have great and innocent confidence in the loving promises of our God. Pray that I may live my life in union with God's plan for me, and one day see the face of God whom you loved so deeply. Saint Therese, you were faithful to God even unto the moment of your death. Pray for me that I may be faithful to our loving God. May my life bring peace and love to the world through faithful endurance in love for God, our Savior. And on this second day of the novena, loving God, you loved Therese's complete trust in your care. Help me to rely on your providential care in each circumstance of my life, especially the most difficult and stressful. I trust you, Lord. Help me to trust you more. I love you, Lord. Help me to love you more. Glory be to the Father, and to the Son, and to the Holy Spirit, as it was in the beginning, is now, and ever shall be, world without end. Amen.
Amen.
In the name of the Father, and the Son, and the Holy Spirit.
Amen. Morning Light News Time 7:03, 63 degrees in Boise, 56 in Twin Falls. Yesterday, Micron Technology announced a major expansion to its Southeast Boise campus. The company plans to invest $15 billion through the year 2030 to build a new semiconductor fabrication plant for memory manufacturing. Micron called it the largest private investment in Idaho history. The company predicts the project will create more than 17,000 American jobs, including about 2,000 for Micron. The new fabrication plant will be the first built in the United States in 20 years.
Here are the results of the Magic Valley School District levies. The Blaine County School District levy for $25 million in plant facilities passed with strong voter approval. The Jerome School District bond for $12 million also passed in order to remodel one school and to add an additional elementary school. The Buell School District levy for $6.3 million did not pass, with only 32% of voters supporting it. The bond needed 55% support to pass.
2 Idaho American Indian tribal groups are interested in building casinos in Elmore County. One proposal comes from the Shoshone-Bannock tribes based at the Fort Hall Indian Reservation. In July of 2020, the tribes bought a 154-acre parcel of land outside of Mountain Home, southeast of the city and just west of I-84. The land is within Mountain Home's area of impact, which means the city is free to annex it. The site would have 500,000 square feet and cost $311 million.
A fire weather watch is in effect for much of western Idaho, including eastern and western Payette National Forest, northern Boise National Forest, northern Sawtooth National Forest, Owyhee Mountains, and the Camas Prairie area. Gusty winds and low humidity blowing through eastern Oregon into Idaho are prime fire ingredients. This fire weather watch will be in effect until Saturday evening. Expect winds between 10 and 20 miles per hour, with gusts up to 40 miles per hour. Relative humidity is only 10 to 15%. What's the local weather? Find out next.
Salt and Light Radio thanks Snake River Pool and Spa for their financial support as a Beacon of Light member. They also support Sacred Heart Ranch of Idaho, providing housing, support, and unconditional love to young women during life's difficult transitions. The website is sacredheartranch.org to learn more about this powerful ministry. And let Snake River Pool and Spa make it easy to take it easy with your family. Located in Boise, Twin Falls, and Meridian, or online at thespateam.com.
Good morning, light traffic. We were just discussing the air quality. That might come up here in a minute. I do have an incident to let you know about, but my mouse is all crazy and I can't get to it. That is on I-84 eastbound, a crash. At Garrity. It is in the right-hand shoulder, so all of your lanes are free. So resist the urge to look at whatever it is, but that's going to cause a little bit of slowing at that Garrity Road interchange. But so far, your freeway commute looks great. County line on Chinden looks good. Even Eagle and Chinden, magically lovely. That is your morning light traffic.
Treasure Valley weekend weather, sunny, continued hot, highs right around 100 with overnight lows in the mid-60s. In the Magic Valley, much of the same this weekend. Sunny skies, highs in the upper 90s, lows 60 to 65. And sunrise this morning at 7:09. Sorry, everything just locked up upstairs. Tonight's sunset will be at 8:18. Right now it's 53 in Caldwell, 54 out in Buell, and 48 degrees in Rupert. Do we need to break it out?
I think so. I think it might be the day.
There it is,
So,
the air quality theme.
The Idaho Department of Environmental Quality real-time air monitoring. And if you are driving right now and you're looking at the sunrise, you're thinking,
Yeah.
ew. Yeah. Or you're like, wow, that's really lovely and very colorful. The crayons have come out. So the place where it's particularly bad is where my husband and daughter are backpacking, and that's in McCall. He actually texted me last night. It's like, there's a giant plume of smoke. check the fire map. So McCall in particular is it's orange, and orange means it's unhealthy for sensitive groups. The rest of the state pretty much is at moderate. There are, in looking at that fire map, a lot of Washington and Oregon is on fire right now, and that's going to blow in slow but sure. So if you need to take some precautions, maybe bust out your air purifier, you might want to do that. And where are we? We'll be back.
We'll be back right after this.
If you are buying anytime on Amazon and you use smile.amazon.com to start your purchase, Amazon will donate 0.05% of all eligible purchases to Salt and Light Radio if you have set Salt and Light Radio up as your charity of choice. This is a simple and cost-free way for you to help us. Simply go to smile.amazon.com on your web browser or activate Amazon Smile on your Amazon shopping app.
Owned and operated by 2 former Bishop Kelly students, Bluebird Express Car Wash is proud to support Salt and Light Radio with their world-renowned custom equipment and free services such as towels, vacuums, air guns, and mat washers. Your car will shine like never before. 2 locations near Bishop Kelly on Overland Road or at Fairview and Cole, and coming soon to State Street near St. Mary's. For information on locations and unlimited memberships, the website is bluebirdexpress.com.
Men, Father Bailey Clemens invites you to a Men's Day of Desert Retreat entitled Becoming a True Man of God. This retreat is Saturday, September 17th from 7 a.m. to 5 p.m. at St. Francis de Sales Cathedral in Baker City, Oregon. For further information, call 541-523-4521. That's 541-523-4521.
10 minutes after 7 o'clock, it is a Faithful Friday edition of Morning Light, heard across the Salt and Light Catholic Radio Network. On the phone, joined by Casey Elgazabal. She is the marketing manager from the Society of St. Vincent de Paul, Southwest Idaho. Whew, that is tough to say in one breath.
It's a big one. You got lots of words in the title, long last name. I empathize.
Oh, man. I should have taken a deeper breath. Well, it's because of the air quality. That's what I'm going to blame it on. Well, Summerfest coming off the heels of that. So been a while since we talked to you. And then you got other things in the future. So let's get caught up, first of all.
Yeah, Summerfest was such a huge success. I know we had given you guys some preliminary numbers, but I'm so proud and happy to say that we did net. So after all of our costs, after everything that we spend, we did net $155,000 to go towards our profits, or towards our programs this year, which is the most we've ever raised, which is a huge success. So just a giant shout out to all of our donors and independent donors that support St. Vincent de Paul. Without you guys, we couldn't do it. So it was a very big success, and I think a very fun night for everyone that attended.
That's great. So looking ahead, what's next on your docket? I know we kind of touched upon like Thanksgiving food boxes and the Christmas toy store, and that seems so far in the future. Is there something in between that sort of bridges the gap?
Well, I'm going to be transparent and say, yes, of course, all of our programs are in full swing, but we truthfully are in full swing for a Christmas toy store. And it is one of those things, and our Thanksgiving food box program is similar, but because we have the food pantry, which is primarily where we source a lot of the food and the organization and the distribution of those things, we've gotten a pretty good pattern and habit of how we distribute and pack and process that program, the Thanksgiving food box. But our Christmas toy store, I know we've talked a little bit about it, and it seems so far away, but we are in toy drive season. And the reason that I'm bringing that up partially so early is because of all the inflation and the things that we've been seeing locally and just in general with supply and demand, is that in the next few months is when we're really going to have access to toys and to, that specific gift ideas for that age group of 10 to 18. And so we're really looking for business partners who can host a toy drive now clear through December, or not that entire extent, clearly, but any portion of that time, and or like a giving tree, to try and help kind of take away some of the expense, because basically once we start seeing families register, we start allotting certain gifts and amounts of gifts to each age group. And once we see what our gaps are and where we don't have enough, that's when we start spending to buy and ensure that we have enough toys for all of those groups. So it's complex, but really we're looking for business partners. We last year did 11 toy drives, and this year our goal is to do 25 toy drives and or giving tree in any facet.
Well, let me stop you there, because let's say a business, let's just use the radio station as an example. So Salt and Light Radio wants to have a barrel here at the station to collect toys, or there's another business owner out there listening this morning. What is entailed in order to become a business sponsor for the Christmas toy drive?
Oh, it's so easy. We just contact us. So when we close out our segment here, I'll give you guys Katie's phone number. That is our main point of contact. Of course, you can always call our regular office, but all you need to do is contact us. So Katie, which her phone number is 208-501-5801, and let her know that you're in.
You cut off there real quick. So we had 208-501, and then what were the last four?
5801.
5801. All right,
yep.
Super.
And she will get you set up, and basically what we will do is so easy. We will bring you a barrel, we will bring you a sign, and you can post the sign in your window, and that's it. And then when you say, hey, we need this picked up, or we'd like to close this out, we'll come and pick it up, and that's it. We definitely love to give a shout out to all of our sponsors through the toy store. We'll put your logo on our website, on our toy store page. So it's great branding and partnership opportunity, but it's so simple. And then if somebody wanted to do a giving tree, what we basically do is we create little tags that have a QR code, and you can either scan the QR code and purchase a gift, or you can bring the gift based on the tag. You say, oh, here's a tag that's for a straightener for age 10 to 18, purchase a straightener, bring it and put it back under the tree, and we'll come and pick up those gifts once those tags are completed, or once a business owner is ready to have that removed.
And then going back to what you were saying about inflation, like I filled up my wife's car on my way to work today. It was $70. And it used to only be $30 to fill that up. And I can't get out of the grocery store for less than $100. Are you seeing that maybe those because this is a double-edged sword. It's like people need the services now more than ever, but because of inflation, are you seeing the donations going down, unfortunately?
Yeah, so what we're seeing and what we're planning for is that we used to say that a gift overall cost about $10.
Right.
And now we're really saying that it's more around $15, and that's just the cost of the world that we're in right now.
Yeah.
And in addition to that, yes, you're exactly right. There are families that maybe last year or the year before, or even 5 years ago, were able to donate, a $15 gift and not bat an eye. And maybe this year are thinking, man, I'm not sure how I'm going to get gifts for my kids. And that is super normal and super fair. And I think a lot of people are seeing that. And that's why we are trying to expand those toy drives and make sure that we can cover anyone that might be experiencing those needs. We did 4,100 kids last year, and our goal is 6,000 kids this year. So in addition to inflation, we're also increasing our numbers to service more. And I think maybe we had briefly talked about this, but we are doing 2 pop-up locations. So for a few days in Mountain Home, we will have a St. Vincent de Paul toy store. And for a few days in Ontario, we will have a pop-up Christmas toy store to try to help further make it more accessible for those people that are experiencing those needs this year that haven't in the past.
Hope, you kind of touched upon the food bank, and Hope had a question about that.
Right.
Yeah.
So, and you had mentioned inflation. We noticed that in some of the parish-based food pantries that people donate money because those pantries can access food at below retail prices, but even those prices are going up. How's that affecting the pantry?
It's significant. We have been seeing a super huge increase in needs, of course. I've worked the pantry twice last week just because we need the support, and we serviced 68 families and 13 new registered families the last Friday that I was there, so a week ago. When you're increasing numbers from typical 40, 45 families to 68 and 13 of those being new, that's a big jump. And when we don't have, that large of increase in donors or accessibility to food, it can be really scary. We're definitely ahead of it right now. Thankfully, we have a phenomenal pantry manager, Brandon, who is working with our food partners to ensure that we always have enough to continue our mobile locations. But it's definitely hard. It's a struggle that we haven't faced before, and that we're really choosing to battle on a daily basis. What are our needs? Who's here? What do we have?
Thank you.
Yeah.
So
welcome back, Hope. We missed you.
Yeah.
Thank you. That's very sweet.
So we, in August, and we're so glad August is in the rearview mirror, an August that saw more days of 100 degrees or hotter, I'm sure that new delivery truck with the refrigeration on it, to be able to get that food out to people, because it was just flat out dangerous for some people to be able to go out and get food, and some people, of course, that rely on St. Vincent de Paul can't go out. So I bet that really came in handy this summer.
It did. Our mobile pantry is a huge success. I think it's, again, one of those programs that it's so rewarding to advance and grow a program like that and have it thrive so well. We added another location. We're still going out 4 and then the 5th week each month. And being able to take food out to people that can't go out with heat restrictions or don't have a car that has air conditioning, so to sit in a hot car to drive to the grocery store can be really dangerous, especially for our elderly or disabled or veterans that, can't really handle those conditions. It's amazing. And yes, the refrigerated truck is a lifesaver. It was even a lifesaver for Summerfest.
Yeah.
Being able to bring all those desserts over in safe, cold conditions.
That's just brilliant.
So people want to learn more. How do they get in touch with you?
Yes, so if you are interested in doing the Christmas toy store, whether that is a toy donation or a direct contact to do a giving tree, the phone number to reach out to is to Katie Boyer, and her phone number is 208-501-5801. And if you want to get in contact with St. Vincent de Paul, help, donate, support, ask more questions, our website is svdpid.org.
Great.
Excellent. Thank you so much.
Casey Elgazabal, Marketing Manager for St. Vincent de Paul. Thank you so much. I wasn't going to attempt the whole thing because I was going to run out of breath again.
Bigger breath this time.
Yeah. God bless, my friend. We'll talk to you soon.
Hey,
Thank
you.
you.
As well. See you
All
guys
right.
later.
We are 2 minutes away from Rebecca M. Carroll, the Coaching Educators. Morning Light continues next.
Daily Meditations of Pope Benedict XVI, presented by Leonardo D. Philippus of St. Luke Productions.
When the body ceases to be a limit, bodily existence can also be lived as opening oneself up as the developing freedom of a person who shares himself. We all know that this happens too, that transcending the limits, we touch one another intimately, are close to each other. What people call telepathy is only an extreme case of what to a lesser extent happens among us all, a hidden movement from the heart, being close to each other even at a distance. Resurrection means quite simply that the body ceases to be a limit and that its capacity for communion remains. Jesus could rise from the dead and did rise from the dead because he had become, as the Son and as the one who loved on the cross, the one who shares himself wholly with others. To have risen from the dead means to be communicable. It signifies being the one who is open, who gives himself. And on that basis, we can understand that Jesus, in the speech about the Eucharist that John has handed down to us, puts the resurrection and the Eucharist together, and that the Fathers say that the Eucharist is the medicine of immortality. Receiving communion means entering into the communion with Jesus Christ. It signifies moving into the open through him who alone could overcome the limits, and thus, with him and on the basis of his existence, becoming capable of resurrection oneself.
This meditation is taken from Benedictus, published by Ignatius Press and Magnificat, and produced by St. Luke Productions. Learn more at stlukeproductions.com.
Good morning, 723. Morning Light continues across the Salt and Light Catholic Radio Network. Joined in the St. Gabriel studio now by Rebecca M. Carroll, the Coaching Educator. We were expecting Maureen, but maybe she didn't get the memo.
I think she missed the memo. But because I woke up and it was a tad gloomy, I decided to spread the gloom. It's called FAFSA.
Dun, dun, dun.
Yeah, and as soon as I mentioned it, Brian started
I
sweating.
recoiled. Yeah.
Started complaining because the federal government thinks he's filthy rich. So the FAFSA. Okay, we need to be serious about the FAFSA. If your child is heading off to college and you're hoping, they may have already received, they may be going back to college, they may have already received some sort of merit, or they may have received a Pell grant, or an outside, it doesn't matter with an outside scholarship, but in order for your child to get that money released, you have to fill out the FAFSA. The FAFSA is something that you fill out every year that your child is in school. There is something called the CSS profile, and don't ask me what it is. I knew it was getting there. You can look it up, because I have to look it up every time. That is the FAFSA on steroids. Not every college requires it. Colleges that have a lot of money, the Ivies, tend to use the CSS profile where it digs a little deeper. The FAFSA for your senior who's potentially heading off to college or heading off to a trade school. Trade schools use the FAFSA as well. Don't start crying. Don't start crying, Brian. Now, we talked about this because it looks like, your son is very interested.
Right.
You still have to, because they receive federal funds. Any college that receives federal funds, and including ROTC, things like that, that is part of the money fund.
So this fun little acronym that we're throwing around, what does it mean for those who are
inexperienced? What did I just say to you? What did I just say to you?
You know what? They don't even
Federal
define
aid.
it on the website. Oh, for FAFSA.
Yeah, I didn't know what FAFSA
I moved on
was.
to CSS.
Okay,
profile.
well, we'll look on it.
Yeah.
We'll get somebody.
It's the federal government.
Yeah.
Basically, a family of 4 across the United States, the income level is around $52,000-$55,000. So, when people are thinking, they get all excited, well, I'll get federal student aid. You'll get a federal student loan, because if you're making more than that as a family of 4, then you're not going to get a whole lot.
Yeah.
You won't even be able to get there's a couple of loans you can get, student loans. One, you don't have to pay interest while you're in college. The other one, you do. Most people who make, a combined income or that's close to $100,000, unless you have a lot of children, you're not going to get a lot. Your $529 that you have been religiously saving for all your kids, it hits your first kid. So you actually have to report all that with every single child. So these are kind of some of the things. The other shocks that people are getting is some people, family of 5 or 6 or 7, when they're on their last 2, all of a sudden they're not qualifying for the Pell grants. So I think it's important. It opens up October 1st. Your student will either be told, if they're in public school or private school, they'll be told, you got to fill it out, you got to fill it out. Most of the deadlines for schools are not until after January 1st, but I do recommend that you get it done. Because you're heading there, this child who's a senior is heading for college in the year 23, because they're graduating in 23. You take your 2 years previous taxes when that child was in 10th grade. That is the tax form that you're going off of. However, so you're doing your income, but your assets are from the moment that you are filling out that FAFSA. So when they're asking you how much is in your bank account, your checking, savings, things like that, they don't want your retirement. They don't want you to calculate what you're worth using your house. So they don't do that. And you got to be careful. That's probably the biggest mistake, because you're already frustrated after filling out all these pages, and then the next thing you know, they're like, what are you worth? And you feel like you want to say, hey, I'm worth a lot. The best thing you can do is you want to be
squat.
0.
Yeah. I'm worth nothing.
Nothing.
My treasure's in heaven.
Yeah.
Exactly. Which they don't calculate. So it's important to remember to not do that unless you have a second home. So that you got to be careful of. That's where you will have to calculate that. If you own a business, if you have less than 100 people working for you, you don't calculate that either. So that's another error that I see that a lot of people do if they have a business and they maybe have 25 people working for them. It says it right in that real small fine print that they don't want you to calculate that either. So it's important that you just kind of read the directions. Don't be distracted. Don't let your child fill it out because your child will not understand some of the questions that are being asked. It's important also to prepare for this. Yes, you have your taxes and they get basically downloaded from the IRS. What doesn't get downloaded, and you do need to have that information, is on your W-2. So it's important, or if you're self-employed, you need to know exactly what your income is, and if your wife works, what her income is. You have to be able to split that up. Remember, Brian?
Yes.
So when you get your tax information, or I always kept mine in a folder, it's important because some accountants don't give the W-2 to you. So it's important that you just check now before you open up the FAFSA. It's important that you have to have everybody's social security number. You have to have, you have to know the birth dates. You have to know when you got married. Believe it or not, people have stumbled on that one, the month and the year.
Wow.
Yeah, I think it was. I actually had a husband and wife who were like, oh, when
did we get married? Huh.
It was really funny.
I'm glad it wasn't just one spouse or the other.
Yeah,
so
no.
if you have a sophomore in particular, you should.
That's your year.
Yeah, you should take particular care to have these documents filed away, but accessible.
Yeah, with the W-2. The W-2 is the most important thing. The other thing is say the year before, previously, you had a year where someone had a medical issue or lost a job, or you definitely had a drop in income, things like this. Many businesses went out, so many people lost their job. And there's really nowhere to put it in the FAFSA. But I want you to be patient, because when you list the schools, it goes to the school. So it goes up in the sky, the FAFSA folder in the sky. The schools download them. They download chunks of them every couple weeks. And so they will get to yours. Once the school gets it, and then they give out their official financial aid package, which looks like a formal letter, not just the, hey, you've been accepted and you get the deans, or you get this. It's important. It comes from financial aid. When you get that is when you can petition. So I know people get frustrated because they can't put in these. And oftentimes, if you called, the person who answers is saying what they're supposed to say. Well, if we only look at 1 year, but if you've had a long-term illness, anybody in your family, or a hiccup, many people take on their parents and actually support their parents, more than half. I would encourage you to do a timeline, not a dissertation, a literal timeline, and have your receipts. You need your receipts, make copies of them, and then give it to them. And I have never seen a college not recognize that, just 1 year we're going to look at that you may have had a medical issue. Because many people who have had someone in their family with a medical issue, or they're helping their parents out, many of them end up really, losing money for several years, and it takes a while to recover from that. So it's important that you know that. So the big thing you need to listen to is, just because the FAFSA opens up October 1st, it doesn't mean you have to get it done immediately. You have some time. Make sure you have your W-2s for 2 years past. So it's the year 21. Make sure also that you have the list of colleges that your child is. And if your child's applying for more than 10, because you can put in 10, as soon as you get a financial aid package from one of the colleges, you can go back in the FAFSA, knock it off, and then you can add that college. So if you're applying early decision, you do want to have your FAFSA, and if the school requires a CSS profile, which colleges that have early decision, which is binding, they can't force you to go, but they're asking you to sign something that says, yes, if I get in, I really want to go to the school and I'm planning on it, and you can only apply to one. Then you do have to have your stuff done by November 1st. Bless you. Times 10.
Times 4. Yeah.
So
It was funny. It was a tickle that just was slowly. Pardon my sneezing.
So that's, these are things that some colleges, very few in the United States, but some do not take federal funds. And they usually have their own method for filling out information for the college.
So not to be snarky, but going back to what you had said earlier about people that had a second home or had a business, big business that employed over 100 people, why would people in that position need financial aid?
Well, I'm
I'm just curious, asking for a friend.
Well, to me, if the student has earned merit scholarships,
Right.
I think they should get it no
Yes,
matter what.
right.
Because if they've worked hard at their college, at their high school level,
Right.
then
Yeah.
it has to do with merit.
Yes.
And I think that is a good system, because if we take that away,
Right. There's no incentive.
right.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, people have incentive, but so for example, I have a couple students who are going to Boise State, and the Idaho colleges do, Idaho itself does quite a bit. You can take dual enrollment. They kind of fund before you get to college. They don't give a lot of money when you're going to college, and people are a little surprised about that. So most of the kids that go there aren't getting that much. So some parents feel like it's not worth it.
Yeah.
So if your child isn't, but if your child is doing ROTC or, you can wait until junior and senior year when there's a lot of scholarships available, like next year University of Idaho, same thing. Junior and senior year, there are a lot of scholarships at the college level that kids should be looking at. The minute you're applying for scholarships, that's when you need to fill it out. So you might have your student who is getting, maybe 500 or less. A lot of people feel like, why should I let that?
Yeah.
Why do I need to be doing that? Although it would pay for a tank of gas.
Barely.
Yes. So that's just, I'm just preparing you in the ominous way, but I hope that helps, because it can get a little confusing, and a lot of people, this is the first time that their children are heading off to college. The cool thing is when you have a second child, a third, a fourth, a fifth, once you get done with filling out for your first child, you can, at the very end of it, there is a link that says, do you have another child? And you click on it, and it will fill a lot of the information in.
Copy and paste.
You also have to, if your child worked, you still have to, whether they file taxes or not, you have to have their W-2.
Wow.
So it's important to backtrack and get that. And I'm hoping that there are kids that have worked in high school, because it's good for them.
Yeah.
So
Absolutely.
that's important too. You have to have all of that for all of your children.
Do you still have your little calculator on your website?
I use a different one, so no.
Okay.
Yeah.
But there is information.
Yeah, and honestly, the FAFSA itself, the federal government link, has a calculator that actually works.
There you go.
So I would explore that site, and you cannot fill it in before October 1st, though, because some people think I'm going to get ahead of the game, and then they're ending up filling out last year's FAFSA, which is confusing enough, and then,
doesn't
I've
quite
had that
work out.
happen.
Yike.
So,
Well, maybe take the month of September to gather up all the information that you're going to need for October 1st.
and a box of tissue, and
You have no idea.
A bottle of wine.
I like the way Hope thinks. TheCoachingEducator.com is the website to learn about what Rebecca does. Thank you so much. And next time we see you, hopefully
Yeah.
Tug on
Well,
Maureen.
that's
and we
probably
can-
my fault more than hers. But if you know Maureen O'Toole, you need to say, gosh, you were supposed to be on the radio today. Let's just make it annoying.
We'll take a short break here. Be back with news, traffic, and weather next.
Do you have a messy family? The Office of Marriage and Family Life for the Diocese of Boise and Salt and Light Catholic Radio are teaming up to bring you the Messy Family University with Mike and Alicia Hernan. This 4-session mini course is designed to open parents up to God's vision for marriage and family. Then teach them the habits they need to transform their family life. This event is Friday evening, September 23rd, and Saturday all day, September 24th, at Holy Apostles Catholic Church in Meridian. The cost is $50 per couple plus Eventbrite fees, and that includes snacks on Friday plus a light breakfast and lunch on Saturday. Register before September 20th by going to catholicidaho.org/events. Click on the Messy Family University link and it'll take you to the Eventbrite page. Or call the Marriage and Family Life office 208-350-7551. 208-350-7551.
Morning Light News Time 7:40, 64 degrees in Boise, 59 in Twin Falls. An investigation into an incident between Boise Police Chief Ryan Lee and a sergeant on the force concluded that there was evidence the chief committed a felony crime, but not enough to prove it. A county prosecutor's office recommended no criminal charges against Lee, who was accused of seriously injuring Sergeant Kirk Rush back on October 12th of last year. In a tort claim, Rush accused Lee of breaking his neck and seriously injuring him.
AAA Idaho gave travelers some good news. Gas prices continue to inch downward as Labor Day approaches. While crude prices are still hovering at $90 a barrel, local prices have reduced to $4.50 per gallon. I have yet to actually
I haven't seen that.
This is well behind the national average of $3.85 per gallon. Matthew Conde of AAA Idaho stated that while gas prices go down in these small steps, hotel and airfare is still 30% higher than a year ago.
Last Saturday, the College of Idaho football team opened the 2022 season with a commanding 31-3 win over MSU Northern. The Yotes will be in Billings, Montana tomorrow to face the Battling Bears of Rocky Mountain College. It's almost as bad as Pioneer League baseball.
Battling.
The Battling Bears. Kickoff has now been set for 11:30 a.m. Rocky won their season opener as well, 27-10 over Southern Oregon in Frontier Conference action.
A wildfire is burning between Baker City and Ontario, according to the Oregon Department of Transportation. It has closed down the eastbound lanes of I-84. When I checked last time, east and westbound lanes were closed between Pendleton and Ontario. Travelers should visit TripCheck or get road conditions by calling 503-588-2941. Traffic and weather are next. Support for Salt and Light Radio comes from Victor Sanchez at Bridge Tower Photography. From weddings to high school or college graduation to family portraits, life's special moments deserve to be captured. And with over 30 years of experience, Bridge Tower Photography can create timeless artwork for you to enjoy and share with others. The phone number for Bridge Tower Photography is 208-949-1740. And the website is bridgetowerphotography.com. Good morning, Light Traffic. Hey, good news. The freeway commute is a surprisingly clear one. A little tiny bit of slowing as you're trying to merge there at 10 Mile, but you're going to get through Meridian and Eagle, or my map is lying. You should be able to get there without a problem. The incident that was on Garrity earlier has been cleared away. It's not even on my map anymore. So that's your good news Friday morning light traffic.
Treasure Valley weekend weather. Let's see if we can limp through this again. Sunny, continued hot, highs around 100, overnight lows in the mid-60s. Magic Valley, much of the same this weekend. Sunny and very warm. Highs upper 90s, lows 60 to 65. Yesterday's official high at the Boise Airport was 97, and the low was 64. Right now, 57 in Nampa at St. Paul's, 58 in Fruitland at Corpus Christi, and at St. Jerome's in Jerome, 57 degrees. Let's learn more about our saint of the day when we return. We'll wrap up. Oh, that's right. Sorry. I forgot. Air quality.
No, it's new, which is funny because I just had this massive sneezing fit just 2 minutes ago. So Idaho Department of Environmental Quality real-time air monitoring. Most of the state is in moderate, that is yellow. McCall in particular is unhealthy for sensitive groups. If you're heading, say, to Wyoming, things begin to clear up. But know that that's going to get worse. If you're looking at the sunset last night, the sunrise this morning, you're really going to see the smoke. So take the precautions that you need, and we'll be right back with Priscilla's Porch.
This is Franciscan Media's Saint of the Day for September 2nd. Today we celebrate Blessed John Francis Berthet and companions. When the French Revolution began in 1791, priests in France were required to take an oath of allegiance that amounted to a denial of faith. Today we remember 191 martyrs who died in the years 1792 and 1794 for refusing to take that oath. John Berthet became a Franciscan at 16, and after his ordination, taught theology to young friars. While in charge of a large friary in Paris, he was arrested and imprisoned in a Carmelite convent. Among his companions were Apollinaris of Possat, a Swiss Capuchin studying languages in Paris, and Séverin Giraud, a Franciscan Third Order regular priest serving as chaplain for a group of religious sisters. Father Giraud was the first to die in the slaughter at the convent, along with 182 others, including bishops and religious and diocesan priests. They were beatified by Pope Pius XI in 1926. Another conventual friar, John Baptiste Triquerie, was chaplain for several Poor Clare monasteries when he and 13 diocesan priests were arrested in 1794. They were beatified in 1955. There's more about the saints along with inspiration and Catholic resources at our website, saintoftheday.org. From Franciscan Media, this has been Saint of the Day.
Priscilla's Porch is a new weekly segment on Morning Light aimed at Catholic women and the feminine genius that was given to them by God. Grab a rocking chair and a cup of tea as we share stories, wisdom, and faith. And now, the hostess with heaps of hospitality, Busy Shore.
7:46, 14 minutes away from 8 o'clock as we wrap up this Faithful Friday edition of Morning Light with Priscilla's Porch. And as we heard there in the intro, the feminine genius. And Busy joining us here in the St. Gabriel studio to kind of tackle that. What does feminism or a feminist mean in the 21st century to Catholic women? Good morning.
Good morning.
Good
So
morning.
actually, I'm pushing that one back to next week
Oh,
because
crying out loud.
I started writing out my outline, and Saint Therese said to do something else.
Okay.
God had other
Well,
plans.
We trust her.
Sorry,
we put it all. No,
Brian.
it's fine. I was all ready to
Pulling
roll
the
up my
rug
shirt
out from under you.
sleeves and dive into that topic, but okay.
Yeah.
I will sit here quietly.
Right. Keep your skirt on.
So, yes. So this week, we're actually talking about something that I am learning from my kids, particularly, I think, my daughter, and that is being little. And this is also something, if you're familiar with Saint Therese of Lisieux, she is known as the Little Flower, and her spirituality, which is what really brought her to be given the title of Doctor of the Church, is known as the Little Way. And in leading up to the Idaho Catholic Women's Conference, which is a week from tomorrow, I'm really excited. The planning committee and all of the attendees and all of the people that support us on Facebook and everything else, we're all together doing a novena to Saint Therese to pray for the conference, and to pray for open hearts, for protection on our speakers and our technology and all of this other great stuff. So I'm really diving into this. This is my first novena to Saint Therese, so I'm really excited. And so littleness is really a big thing for her. She had a very, very short life. Didn't do anything monumentous. She only lived to be 24, and there's some cute stories. Her life is actually very sweet. The Story of a Soul is her autobiography. Encourage everyone to go read it. But she actually says, one of the quotes from her is that, I may aspire to sanctity in spite of my littleness. For me to become great is impossible. I must bear with myself and my many imperfections, but I will seek out a means of getting to heaven by a little way. Very short and very straight, a little way that is wholly new. And sort of the image that she kind of gives is like that of a child that's trying to do something that's too big for them, like climb the stairs. And they keep trying and they keep trying, and they just absolutely can't. But eventually, the mother, she talks about the mother, sometimes the parent just comes down and says, oh, honey, hi, let me help you. And you just pick the kid up. Like, you're never, ever going to do that. And so that's her vision of us getting to heaven with God. It's like, you are never going to climb that ladder by yourself. You know, it's like the 10-month-old that can barely stand trying to climb the staircase. They're just not going to. But they don't actually have to. Like, God comes down and just picks you up like a parent with a toddler and just carries you up and says, you know what, that's okay. I'm here to help you. So, but this is something, it's a really cute image, like, oh, yay. And then like, yes, but I have to go pay the bills, and I have to go to work, and I have to go clean the house, and I have to do this, and I have to do that, and you have to get to school on time. You know, I have to drive through traffic. Rah! So there's all of these, like, it seems, it's a really fun idea when you're sitting around thinking about it philosophically, but it's really hard to put feet on that idea in real life. But as I say, I'm learning this from my kids. So Hope, you as a mom, and I think Brian, you know, you as a father too, as every parent, you're familiar with this scenario. You have a little one who wants something that they can't reach, but it's not necessarily a bad thing for them to have. They just can't reach it. Or maybe they want to be helpful and they want to do something that they think they can do, but it's really just too big for them. And they, you know, they get all wound up and they get frustrated instead of asking for help. Or finally, they are entering a new to them scenario, and they start to get really sort of anxious. But it's something that you as the parent, you've planned it, you've prepared it, you've vetted the whole thing. It's all going to be fine. But they just get so worked up, like, I'm not sure, I don't know. And you can just see the fear because they don't know what's going to expect. Hope is nodding here. Yes, we are all familiar with these.
My daughter didn't sit with the kids at library story time till she was like 5.
Mm-hmm.
She just sat beside me. She's completely content. And I was like, go sit with the kids. She was like, And for years, she just sat beside me for story time and was happy as a clam.
Mm-hmm.
And then one day, she's like, oh, I'll go sit with the kids.
Yeah.
Much to my relief.
So for me, that last scenario of the I'm not sure, that's my Henry. He likes to really know what's going on. And it is funny what things he'll choose to be anxious about and what not. Like sometimes he's totally fine. And then sometimes he's like, I'm not sure. I don't know. I'm like, honey, trust me. It's going to be okay. You don't have to be sure. That's my big thing is you don't have to be sure. I'm sure. I'm sure for you. It's okay. Just trust me. Whereas my Ella is more of the second scenario that I listed, where she is far more likely to encounter something she's either just too small to do, or you know she wants to be helpful, but you know she want to close the car door. She's not really strong enough to close the sliding door on the van, but she really, really wants to. Or sometimes she'll be doing something and things aren't quite lined up, and she gets so frustrated and she won't ask for help until I tell her, Ella, you have to ask for help, and then I will help you. You don't have to do the whole thing yourself. The desire to do it is the real important thing at your age. It's okay that you're not tall enough and strong enough. So, you know, Hope's nodding. So yes, we as parents, we know how things are going to go. We know you're just not big enough for this. We absolutely know all of those situations in which they ask, how do I? And our answer is, well, first you have to grow a couple of feet, you know. We see all of this and they don't. And we're, as I said, we are so happy just with their attempts and the spirit, and we don't need them to actually accomplish the thing. But this grasping beyond the ability, all of these scenarios are our children encountering their littleness is what it is. But so often it also is us. So how often are we in this same place of encountering our own littleness, encountering things that make us so anxious and so frustrated, and we're trying to figure it out. And you know, maybe we're asking all our friends, how do I do this? How do I get my kid to eat fruit and vegetables? My gosh, tell me, how do I fix this? You know, whatever the issue is. And those are good. But at the same time, just like us with our kids, God is standing right behind us like, ask me for help. It's okay. You don't have to solve this problem. Really, I've got it. It's okay. And so I think when we as parents, we look at our kids, and this is one of the things that again, my kids are teaching me, is what is the attitude that we want them to have when they encounter all of these things? We want trust and surrender. We want them to trust us that when we say it's okay, they believe us. We want them to surrender in the fact that when it's too big for them, that they ask us for help and let us help them. I keep telling my daughter, honey, sometimes the best way for you to help is actually to let me do it for you. Really. I'm sorry. I love you. You're adorable. The best way for you to help is to let me do it for you. this time, right now. The day will come when you can do that on your own, right? But this is the essence of littleness, trust and surrender. So how do we take that into the spiritual life? How do we take that to God? So trust, believe what Jesus tells you. So Mother Mary told the servants at the wedding at Cana, do what he tells you, right? Well, that's great. You will have a really, really hard time doing what he tells you if you don't believe what he tells you. You have to believe him first. So when he says he has it under control, even when it's big and scary and you're not sure how it's going to go, believe him. He has it under control. If he says he wills good things for you, believe him. When he says he loves you, believe him. When he says this is really frustrating, but that's not the important thing you need to worry about right now, believe him. Okay? When he says, I know it's hard, but you can do it, believe him. And in this, I really recommend the Litany of Trust. I'm actually in a season of life right now where I'm doing this every morning. Right, with Hallow. Hallow is a really great, fun app. Really helps with all of the reminders. They have a really great Litany of Trust. I have that going every morning right about 5:30 a.m. because that's how early I have to get up if I want to do anything before the kids are awake. So yeah, if trust is hard, and I think it is kind of hard for all of us because that's just part of the nature of being a human adult, highly recommend the Litany of Trust. Surrender. Stop trying to do it yourself. Okay? So Jesus asked the servants to fill the jars with water. He did not ask them to turn it into wine. He made the wine himself. But they had to surrender and do what he said before he could perform the miracle. So stop trying to do it yourself. This is really hard for us in the day-to-day life. It's kind of easy to talk about, kind of like I just did. Stop trying to turn the water into wine. Oh, that sounds really, really quippy. All right, yes, it does. Yay me. But in real life, surrender is really hard because Jesus is not a physical person that we can delegate to like a personal assistant and say, okay, well, I'm done with this. You go take care of that, and I'll check back in with you in a week and see what your progress is, Jesus. I mean, you can't do that. So a lot of the things still stay on our to-do list. Yeah. And so it's like, so in what sense am I surrendering this? You can put down the emotional baggage. That's the real thing, is like, okay, I've put this on the calendar. I can stop worrying about it, right? I've put in the calls for the referrals for the medical care, whatever. I can stop worrying about it. I have set up all of the things as much as I can today. I can stop worrying about it. You know, those sorts of things. Like, it's the worry. It's the holding on. It's the grasping onto the emotional responsibility. That we can totally give up. And I highly, in this one, recommend the Surrender Novena. It's usually 9 days of just, Jesus, I surrender myself to you. Please take care of everything. And it sounds so simple and trite and like, well, that's not going to do much, except you just do it as the novena. It actually, it really helps your heart. Like that's the important part, is that it helps your heart. Also starting each morning with asking God, what do I need to do today? Like, this is what I had on my schedule, and this is what I had on my agenda. Clean piece of paper. What is actually important today, God? And then be quiet and listen. And this was actually the best marriage advice I ever got straight from God before we got married was shut up. Which, as you may know,
be quiet and listen.
Yes. We all nod like that's good advice.
Yes.
Yeah. Let's all take that to heart today.
So I want to close really quick with a different image of childhood, because we started this with these images of the kids grasping, reaching for things that they really just can't reach. They just can't do. I want to leave you with the images that we want to embrace when we think of being little ourselves. Think of the baby snuggling on mommy's chest. That just falls totally asleep. They're not worried about what's going on in the room. They're not worried about who's in the room. They're not worried about the sounds. They're not worried about anything. They're just like, here I am safe. Here I am loved. I am warm. I am fed. That's the sort of image that we want to have when we come to God. When we pray the rosary, like all of this stuff, just imagine being held with that total trust and surrender, total abandonment. Also, if you are a parent, I want you to think of a time when your little one needed you. Maybe there was an owie, maybe something broke, they couldn't reach something, and they say, Mommy, can you get down my water bottle, please? Or can you kiss my owie, or whatever it is. With absolute confidence that you will do it. There's not a single doubt in their minds. That is the kind of attitude God is looking for. When we need something, he doesn't need us weeping and broken on our knees. I mean, sometimes that's what we need to do. That's not what God is necessarily looking for. He wants us to approach the throne of grace with confidence, just like the 2-year-old that says, Mommy, I need a hug. And then the last image, again, if you're a parent, think of a moment when your kids were fairly small, maybe toddlers, maybe elementary, and they called your name and ran to you, arms wide, their faces completely lit up just because you were there. And think of your heart at that moment when you see them running to you with how much they love you. That is how God sees us.
Wow.
That's the perfect way to end the week.
Yes. I'm glad we all have tissue here close by, because I was remembering those days and how much we missed that.
Yeah.
There was one time I went to go to the grocery store, and I was maybe halfway out to my pickup, and my son just comes running out, and he's just crying. It's like, what's wrong? It's like, you left before I had a chance to give you a hug and tell you how much I love you.
Right, Ella does that every single time.
That's
No one is
the
allowed to
best.
leave the house if
Until
she
she does
doesn't
that.
come and give them the hug
Yeah.
and say, I love you, have a good day.
Yeah, miss those
She's
days.
adorable.
That wraps up Faithful Friday. Visit saltandlightradio.com later today and click on the Morning Light page and hit podcast if you missed any of today's segments or previous programs.
Follow us on Facebook and Instagram. Check out the video on YouTube because that's where it is. Get registered for the Idaho Catholic Women's Conference watch parties. It is not too late, so get in on some awesome watch parties. IdahoCatholicWomen.com, and that's also where you can find the novena. Thank you to our guests today, Casey El Gazabal, Rebecca M. Carroll, and Busy Shore.
Join us for our next live show on Tuesday because we get Labor Day off.
Sweet.
And you get to enjoy a best of program. So, yeah, join us then. We'll have the Dominicans, Chef Lou, and one of our Catholic counselors.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
St. Maximilian Kolbe.
Pray for us. Blessed John Francis Berthet and companions.
Pray for us. St. Gabriel the Archangel.
Pray for us. Salt and Light Radio, AM 1140 KGEM Boise, FM 102.3 K272 FS Boise, AM 1270 KTFI Twin Falls, and FM 101.7 K269 HA Twin Falls.